Hey everyone, happy Saturday and welcome to Virtual Vegfest Live. I'm Helene and we are sponsored by the Plant Based Network. Also, our newest sponsor for this month's lives is Cinnaholic. Ultra cool, and you can win a prize pack from Cinnaholic. It's actually a $50 gift card. Totally worth entering our contest. If you go to virtualvegfest.com and click the contest tab, you can enter to win a prize pack from Hodo Foods, Follow Your Heart, Orgain, Crafters Organic, Shroom Meats, and Cinnaholic. 6 prizes being given away at the start of the month. You can enter now. You can do something as simple as subscribing to our Virtual Vegfest YouTube channel. You get 25 entries for doing that. I mean, hint, hint. That's really what we want you to do. So if you do that, you can get entered to win some really cool prizes. And thank you to all of them for sponsoring us. We kind of change with the sponsors every month, and next month will be Shroom Meats. So thank you, Cinnaholic, for supporting us. Cooking demo today. If you have any questions or comments, you know to put them in the little box, and we'll definitely address them. Jill Dalton of the plant-based Whole Foods cooking show, right? Is that it? Because you're shaking her head. It's Irish soda bread with figs, and I'm gonna let her explain that to you, exactly what she's making. It's kind of exciting to. I'm just gonna figure on. It'll be easier. Let me see. Hey Jill, how are you? Oops, I can't hear you. Uh-oh, we got tech issues. I can't hear you. That's so strange. Let me see. It unmuted. That's really weird. That's okay. Tech issues. We're live. It's what happens. Can't hear you yet, but could hear it before we went live, though. Kind of doing something a little different with our sound, and husbands are the best. We're figuring it out, so no worries there. We'll get it figured out. I know she can sign language how to do a cooking demo, or I can tell you what I think she's going to say. All right.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you through that one because I raised the volume on it. Yep. You want to just do it that way? Oh, that just went away. See what happened is we're trying to get her phone to work, and it's not working now that we're live. So probably going to have to use your computer.
All right.
Yep.
Let's put that one out. We'll just use.
That's okay. I removed that so we don't have the feedback. All right, so that's the fun of live. Oops.
Now
So you want to on your computer, you want to turn off the volume so you don't hear me. Not mute it, but actually turn it off so you don't hear me. There you go.
Okay.
There we go. All right. So all good. So it's almost
I need to be able to hear you to answer questions, right?
Yeah. It's not feeding. Is it feeding back?
Is it feeding back at all?
No. You're good.
Okay. All right.
A little bit. Yeah, there's a little bit of feedback, but that's okay. We'll work through it. I can do that. All right. So Jill, you're in North Carolina. You're probably about 30 minutes from my house.
Right. Not far.
I love the fact that our community has incredible people in the vegan plant-based world. I mean, seriously, who would have thought that the Raleigh-Durham area of North Carolina would have so many people that are making a difference in this world, right?
Right. Yeah, because we've got the Campbells right down the street. Well, right down the street. They're a half an hour from me too. So.
Yeah, they're in Mebane. Yep. And we're talking about Kim and Nelson Campbell from Plant Pure Nation, which is they're part of our community as well. And of course, Dr. Campbell, Dr. T. Shawn Campbell, I think he still owns a condo so he can hang out, but the kids have all kind of gone to college, all the grandkids. Right. So it makes a difference. And of course, Kathy Hester, who's my fill-in person whenever someone cancels. So she's actually booked on the calendar, just so everyone knows. Kathy Hester has a booked every year Halloween show.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yes, she was on the calendar from like minute one. I was like, Halloween, you're definitely doing Halloween. Because we were in costumes last year. It was a lot of fun, and they
Oh,
love
fun.
Halloween. Yeah. So I would love for you, for people who don't know you, tell them who you
So,
are.
yeah, I'm Jill from the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show on YouTube. I also have Instagram, which is the same Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show. But it's basically the same uh, information relayed on both. So yeah, I make plant-based recipes that are refined sugar and oil free, very low salt, sometimes no salt, and we try to make and all gluten free. And I try to make it as easy as possible using most ingredients that people would typically have in their kitchen. I try not to make it complicated or throw in ingredients that you might not have. Maybe in the earlier shows there's a few in there, but I learned pretty quickly that it just makes it really hard for people to make the recipes if they can't really get a hold of that one particular item. So I really try to make it as easy as possible so we don't have any excuses, right? There's no reason we should have to go through that, or end up in a drive-through eating, you know, stuff that's not good for you because these recipes are awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize that everything was gluten free as well.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic because I'm gluten
Well,
free.
maybe if you're celiac, it might be a little different because I still use oats. I use gluten-free oats,
Hmm.
but I know for celiacs, apparently most grain has a slight gluten content of some kind. So, I can't officially call that gluten-free, I guess, but just as a disclaimer.
Right. And of course, if you're making this yourself at home, you know what you can put into your food, right? Because
Exactly.
it's not like you're taking this and going, here, world.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
We're eating this in our home. And I know, like what we said before we went live, is you have been doing a fantastic job of staying home during COVID.
Yeah, we've been pretty seriously quarantined the whole time. We don't order out food or, we get our groceries delivered and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, we walk a lot just so we can get out of the house.
Oh, I'm sure. I'd love to know how many meals you've cooked because it's over a year now,
Oh my gosh.
right?
Wow. Yeah, that gosh, I don't even know what that number is because we cook every single night. And lunch is usually leftovers or some combination of like salad with leftovers or that kind of thing. And breakfast is kind of the same. It's not like a formal meal. But yeah, we've cooked every single day. Well, I guess give or take a few here and there. Whatever Whole Foods, sometimes we have these just crazy cravings of something that, because we can't go out to eat, like what would you like to eat tonight? If we can get something at Whole Foods that would make you happy or that can be delivered, a frozen item of some type,
Yep.
we're like, okay, let's do that.
Yeah, there's a what is it called? Rolling Mills? What's I'm conflating, I think a couple of different companies. Rolling Greens out of Colorado. They make gluten-free cauliflower wings and they will ship them to you
It will
frozen,
ship them to you.
and they're millet tots as well. So it's all gluten-free. And the cauliflower wings come with a sauce. Like they have a mustard one and they have a teriyaki and some others because I've bought them all. And that's like one of those things like since you're not going out, you're like totally want
Right.
cauliflower wings without cutting the cauliflower, which is like cutting cauliflower is like such a pain in the ass. And then putting whatever batter you're going to put on it and baking it or frying it or air frying it because it's if you're air frying or baking, it's not the cleanest thing. Air fryer
Yeah.
gets all messed up. These
I
just
don't even have a recipe for that either. They never turn out for me. They don't turn, of course, we don't use oil, so it's hard to get that crispy. So yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so obviously there is some oil in it. It's not high fat actually for what it is. So you take it and then you can throw it in the air fryer and use the sauce. It's frozen. You just dip it into hot water and then you eat. And it is really the millet tots. They have different flavors. It's absolutely delicious. There are a food truck in Colorado that took their
Oh,
food to
crazy.
sell like across the country, and highly, highly recommend since you're gluten free. And if you have those cravings and you're like, I'm not going to Earth to Us to buy the cauliflower wings, and also not as heavily oiled because it's not. I'm sure it's probably deep fried or whatever. It doesn't seem like it because it's not high in fat. It's really good. It's like really, really good. So I highly recommend. I could definitely send that to you after this so that you know who it is because, yeah. And that's like one of those things, like those are the nights where we don't cook. That goes in the air fryer. And it's like, I want somebody else to make something.
Yes, exactly.
Just somebody else, please make something. It's like we eat the same things over over because it's easier, and then you're like, oh, let me do something really strange, and then you don't want to cook anything different for like the week.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
that's so true.
totally get it. So what are you making today?
So today we are going to make, it's one of my latest recipes from the show. It's a gluten-free walnut and fig Irish soda bread. And I'll show you the finished result here. I'll just give you a sneak peek.
It looks like so good. It looks like
And
a giant cookie.
I'll show you in the end. We'll cut it open and all that stuff so you can see the texture and everything. But it's so easy. It goes together super quick. It does take 45 minutes in the oven, but other than that, it's super easy. And except for maybe like figs, that's might not something, or dried figs might not be something you typically have in your pantry. I do because I absolutely love dried figs. But the rest of the stuff, hopefully you're going to have.
Exactly.
So let's get started. Should we just jump in?
Yeah, let's do it. Let me put myself in the corner.
Okay.
And now I'm in the corner. And Jill, you're up. And also, if you don't want to use figs, you can use raisins.
Absolutely.
You can use chocolate chips.
You could use you could even make this savory. You could do, I've done cranberry and orange zest with walnuts. I've done apricot with sunflower seeds. Any kind of dried fruit that you like, even just chopped up dates, or even raisins. It's so versatile. Whatever dried fruit you like, or nut, that's what you'll put in there instead of this. This just happens to be our favorite right now, so that's what came out. Okay, so we're gonna get started. I have 2 cups of rolled oats. These are gluten-free rolled oats. I'm gonna put it in my blender, and I'm gonna blend this into a flour first because I don't ever buy oat flour because oats are so much cheaper and they're so easy. It takes just a few seconds in your blender. But what I've learned over the years is not to over blend the oat flour. And for a lot of my recipes, people will use an oat flour, but it doesn't bake quite the same. I think it's ground a little bit too fine. So stuff has a hard time finishing baking in the center. Like the center sometimes will still be gummy. So I like to just use my regular rolled oats and just lightly grind them. So that's what I'm going to do now. Just like maybe 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds in your blender. And by doing that too, I'm trying to keep it, as whole as possible. So I'm not refining that flour, right?
Right.
So that just goes into my bowl. And then I have 1 cup of almond meal and 1 cup of arrowroot flour, powder. And that's going to help it kind of glue together and also be a little bit lighter because oats tend to be kind of heavy. And then I have 3 tablespoons of flax meal, just ground flax, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. We're just going to stir that together until it's mixed up really well. And then I already have my oven preheated to 350. So that is it's heating up right now. You want to make sure you get this part, stirred up really well because you want to make sure that baking soda gets in there really well. There's nothing worse then biting into a piece of like homemade bread, your homemade bread, or like when you make a quick bread or something and you get a little bead of unstirred baking soda. It's the worst.
It's so gross. You're right.
It's so gross. Okay, there we go. So now I have my chopped figs, and chopped walnuts. And what makes the walnuts even better, I didn't do it this time. I love roasted nuts, even though I know Dr. Greger says, not really, you shouldn't be eating a whole lot of roasted nuts. But I find for recipes like this, you're really eating a teeny amount and it really adds a lot to the flavor. So I like to roast them for just lightly, just to give them more of that toasty flavor. And now I'm going to stir that in the flour. And I put these in first to get them coated a little bit more with the flour, so that when you put your wet ingredients in there, the figs or the walnuts don't clump up together and you have big clumps, in your bread. They tend to get they stay apart a little bit more if you just get them coated in flour first. Okay. And then I have some unsweetened soy milk. I always use unsweetened soy milk. I feel like it, just has the least ingredients in there possible. But you can use whatever plant milk you like. Just make sure it's unsweetened, because all the sweetness from this bread, it's not really a sweet bread. Irish soda bread is actually it's a little bit bland actually. But any of the sweetness is going to come from those figs. You're just going to get a hint of sweet. So make sure you're always using an unsweetened plant milk. So that's just going to go in the middle. And then 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. And the apple cider vinegar is going to react with the baking soda. And that's when it's going to help it to rise. And the lemon juice too. There's actually 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. And if you don't have one of these handy dandy lemon squeezers, you need to get one. They are just the best. And of course, I'm just guesstimating here that it's close to 2 teaspoons. It's not an exact science. And then we're going to stir it up. So that reaction with the vinegar and the baking soda is what's going to help this rise. And because oat flour, it's kind of stiff, it's kind of heavy, it needs a lot of oomph. It needs a lot of that rising power. And sometimes it doesn't work completely. Because like today, this looks a little bit wetter than it normally is for me. So I'm going to let this sit for about 5 minutes maybe, because that moisture, or the oats are going to start to soak that moisture up, and those things are going to start to react together, and that mixture is going to start to dry out and become more firm. Because if I just poured this right now, if I poured this out onto my cookie sheet, it would just be a flat pancake. And then you're not going to get any of the round dome of that Irish soda bread that you really want. It's still okay, still edible, still delicious, but it just will be a little flatter piece of bread that you're going to be slicing off. So it's already thickening. I can see it.
Yeah, right now you have pancakes.
That leaves us a little time just to chat while we're waiting for that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you can take a griddle out and probably make pancakes out of that right now.
Oh yeah, sure. Sure. That would actually be good pancakes, wouldn't it? They'd be really hearty.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely delicious, because they're little cakes, and of course with it being more wet, a pancake can be wet and spread out on the griddle, and
Right.
just flip it and eat it.
Yeah, or it would probably work in muffin tins too, like
Ooh.
lined with the little paper muffin tin things, because then it has, a thing holding it from spreading.
Right, exactly.
I want to
Yeah.
try that. Yeah, I should try that to see if these work as muffins, because that would be great too.
Yeah, no, it sounds like one of the things I really love about what you just shared is typically recipes have you put in the nuts, the chips, the dried fruit, whatever it is, at this point in the
Right.
recipe.
Afterwards.
Right.
Right.
And I really liked that you gave the advice of putting it into the flour for the reason of it not, you not getting clumps of something. Like one piece of that bread will have like,
Almost as big.
right,
Right.
we'll have all this, and then someone will be like, I didn't get any walnuts.
Exactly. Yeah, it really does work. And I've only learned that just from trial and error. I'm like, oh, well, that makes so much sense. Okay, I'm going to do that from now on.
Yeah, that and the oat flour, the over processing of the oat flour, I never would have thought about it. I do make my own. So
Uh-huh.
because it was as easy as you showed it.
Yeah, it's so
It's
simple, and it saves you so much money, because I know when you buy the flours already bagged like that, it's crazy expensive because it's a specialized flour,
right.
right? But oats, I mean, gosh, you really can't get much cheaper. So this overall, this recipe is super affordable. It's a couple cups of oats, which is nothing. So
Exactly. Yeah, and then do you make your own milks at all?
I don't. I used to, but there's four of us, four adults really living in this house, and we go through so much milk. It's unreal. So, plant milk. So I did it in the beginning for a while, and it just got to be too much. I just felt like I was always in process and always soaking, cleaning the nut bags, and I'm just like, oh, forget it. Jeez, this is one of those things for us is worth just paying and buying. I would much rather, eat or drink my homemade stuff, but for the work and for as much work as we do otherwise with cooking, like this is one of those things I can give up.
Your convenience. I bought an almond cow last year. That was one of my COVID things, is I started
Yeah,
making my own milk, and with the almond cow, the guts, for lack of a better term, because you have like either cashew or almond or whatever type of milk you're making, oats, right? You have
right.
that in the middle, right? You have that inside the almond cow that you're like, okay, what do I do with this? Like with almond milk, I was started to dehydrate and make a lot of almond flour, but I don't bake enough to have like all this almond flour. So I was like, what do I do?
Yeah, right.
So now I'm in a cashew milk phase. So
Right,
what I
right,
do is for the guts of the cashew milk, I put it into the Vitamix, add more
right,
water,
right.
and make more milk. So the whole thing is being used.
Oh, that's really smart.
And
Well,
then when
I've
yeah,
thought about getting one of those almond cows, because it makes a lot more, and it's easier than the nut bag,
oh,
and
it's there's no way. I tried the milking the almonds. It just wasn't going to happen. Even though it's so good, no, that's too much work. This does it for you. So then I was making a cashew almond coconut milk.
oh,
Right? So
yum.
now you have the guts of that. So what I would do with that is I put that back into the Vitamix, and I would blend that up with vanilla and make that into a cream. And that
Right.
would go back into my smoothie the next day, like a tablespoon of it, and into Steven's coffee.
That's great. And
So
then for sure it doesn't have any of the fillers or
nothing.
the thickeners, all of that other stuff in there too. Yeah, I
Exactly.
would have to rethink that now that our kids are moving out and stuff. So it'll be just Jeff and I. That'll be easier to make make that amount of milk. So yeah, I might have to revisit that cow. Okay, here we go.
Look how much
Smells.
thicker it is.
All right, so I've got my cookie sheet here. Oops. Already lined parchment paper. I love using parchment paper because I hate cleaning. I hate cleaning baking trays. I hate cleaning baking dishes. So I always use this unbleached parchment paper. It's great. Okay. So there it is. There's a nice stiff. That's going to get some nice height for that loaf. Get all this out of there. Okay. So now you just kind of have to shape it with your spoon a bit. Kind of bring it up towards the center, making a nice round type of loaf. You can see that, right? Yeah, okay. Okay. But the secret with this, if I just put this in right now, when it bakes, that surface is really rough. You can see it right now because we aren't grinding those oats down really far. It's really rough. And what happens when you bake it at this point, that's going to get really sharp. So you know when you eat a piece of toasted bread and it's just really crunchy or a little too hard, and it just tears the roof of your mouth to pieces, and then you have that for a couple of days. That's what's going to happen with this. But I have a secret on how to do that. You just need to get your hands a little wet. And I just go around the loaf, and I kind of push up the edges a little bit to shape it a little bit more. And I'm just kind of smoothing it with my hands with that water. And just having that little extra water on your hands is not going to affect the consistency of the bread at all. But it will definitely make the surface more smooth, and it'll make definitely a prettier bread. Okay. There we go. So at this point, you could even, like a typical Irish soda bread, it has a little cross in it, but they make that cross so that when it rises, it has a controlled break, right? But since this is not a gluten bread, it's not going to rise like that, so there's really no need to put that mark in there. You can put it in there just for looks if you want, but it's really not necessary. Okay, so now all you have to do is put it in the oven for 45 minutes. And then at 45 minutes, you can take it out and it's perfectly done. But if you want it to be a little bit more brown, the same thing with gluten-free, like sugar-free, all of these free things with making bread or baked goods. They don't have like butter or oil, or sugar. Those things are what makes it brown. So when you bake these kind of foods with unprocessed whole foods, they're not going to brown up the same way a nice loaf of bread would be. So if you want it to get a little bit more brown, just leave it in the oven after that 45 minutes, but turn your oven up to like 450 and just leave it in there for about 5 minutes, and then it'll turn a little bit more brown. But if you take it out at that point, it's just going to look a little bit more pale. It's not going to taste any different. It's going to be done. It's just not quite as pretty. So I'm going to stick that in the oven real quick. And what you have when it comes out, a little knife here, is this loaf. There's a camera here.
That looks fantastic.
But you see how it's not like a golden brown color. That's just not going to happen. And if you take it to that far, it's probably going to be a little burned, actually. So I'm going to cut it open for you so you can see what the center looks like. This is nice and cooled. I made this morning, so I would have one to show you. Oh, darn. We have to eat 2 loaves of bread. I know my husband's just crying over there. Okay. If you see that.
Wow.
Stays together really well. It's a little bit crumbly, but wow, it is crazy delicious and very simple. It's a really mild flavor, so you could, toast it up a little bit, put some jam on there. I like to eat it with peanut butter. That's kind of my favorite thing. But like I said, you could do this with many other things. You could even do it an herb flavored one, but like about a half a cup or a little bit more of herbs, like rosemary and thyme, or I don't know, basil and sun-dried tomato. Ooh, I gotta try that one. Yeah. Sorry, I get to eat it and you don't.
That's really fair because it totally influences. He's always influenced like what I'm gonna make. I actually made blueberry muffins this morning, so I like the idea of doing this savory.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. You could even put some vegan cheese throughout it because to me it's like a big scone.
Exactly. It's very similar. It's probably a little bit more dry than a scone. Yeah, a little bit more dry than a scone because they're a little bit more biscuit-like.
Yeah.
They have a little bit more fat to them.
Yep.
But yeah, it's very similar to a scone.
Yeah, that sounds. That look. It looks
Oh,
really
sorry,
good,
I
and they
eat
do too.
it.
No, you eat away. That's okay. If anyone has any questions, we have Jill here for you, especially people who are gluten free or are thinking about being gluten free. Gluten free cooking is cooking is a science, but gluten free cooking is truly a science. And
Mm,
I know I do it all the time. So it is definitely, food can be absolutely incredible and be gluten free, right?
right.
And of course, if somebody wanted to make this not gluten free, just sub flour.
I actually haven't made it with wheat flour because I don't usually keep wheat flour around. So I'm not really sure, but I'm sure there's a process because it has to go through a rise and these other things. I'm assuming I haven't made the actual real soda bread because it's like buttermilk and what was the other thing? There's something else in there I can't remember.
It doesn't have to rise. I know that because I've made
Oh, it
I've
doesn't.
made vegan Irish soda bread, and it
Okay.
definitely wasn't a rising bread. I tend to gravitate towards easy recipes,
Yeah, it must be
and
more like cooked bread, right?
yes, it's like almost like along the lines of banana bread or something like that. Zucchini bread, Irish soda bread is, very similar to that. If you use a glutinous flour is what I call it, a glutinous
Yeah.
flour. Stephen hates when I say that. I'm like a glutinous flour or a gluten-free flour. It's what it is. So
Yeah, I've never made it, but I'm sure it's delicious. I love bread, and I don't have a gluten intolerance, but I have a couple family members that are kind of sensitive to gluten, and then I know a lot of our viewers are really sensitive to gluten. So we just started that in the beginning. We just made a kind of a mental note that our recipes should just be gluten free too, just so we cover that base. You don't have to worry about it. But there are a lot of recipes out there I would love to tackle, but they use wheat flour. So I'm just like, well, I know eventually I'll figure out some way to recreate them in a sort of close version.
So another thing that we did, and this is more recent, is we bought a bread machine, a bread maker,
Hmm.
and went into Facebook Marketplace and found a used one. And being gluten free, I've initially made a gluten free loaf. It was really good, but I found this flour, and I've spoken about this before. There's a flour, it's called Sunrise Flour Mill, and it's out of Minnesota, and they mill the flour themselves, and it's organically grown the way wheat used to be grown before it became where we all have that intolerance.
Right.
So the no chemicals and no pesticides, just and not processed to the point where it's horrible for us. So I
Right.
started buying that flour and I started making bread. And boy, have we been making bread. And pizza dough.
When you use the bread machine is then you want bread every day.
Well, a loaf lasts sometimes a loaf will last like up to a week, which is not
Wow.
bad. Because we're not like, yes, a lot of people said they're like, oh, we make a loaf of bread and we eat it all. And I was like, we don't need to eat it all. We can make more. It was like, we can make bread whenever we want. I bought enough flour for us to make bread whenever we want.
Right.
So, but I'm not having a reaction,
Oh,
and
that's it.
that's the most important thing. Is obviously I won't eat it every single day for fear of having some sort of reaction to it,
Are you
but
are you intolerant?
I'm gluten intolerant.
Huh. But that
Yeah,
that bread doesn't bother you.
that flour is working. The bread flour that I'm getting from them is, I it's so cool. Those muffins that I made are actually made with their pastry flour. So to be able to cook with gluten,
Right. Right.
it's a game to make fresh bread. I mean, the gluten-free bread was really good. I actually made oat flour and used the Bob's 1-to-1 and the oat flour in the bread. And even like 3 days later, the bread was still delicious because I shared it with Kathy Hester and Matt and Angie from the Stairway to Veg and food truck. At that point, they were Gangster Vegan Food Truck, but now they're Stairway to Veg, and shared some with them. And I was like, this is really good. But I was like, well, the cost of the bread, gluten free, is stupid.
Yeah, once you buy all it's those specialty flours. They're so expensive. And then it's, I know some of the recipes call for stuff like the guar gum or
Xanthan gum.
Xanthan gum. Yeah. I don't even think I know what that is. I know it's a binding agent, but I have no clue what that does.
The xanthan gum, I actually have some in the house, and I make ice cream. So if we put all our houses together, we'd have every product that you could possibly make anything. So I have an ice cream maker, and I took the xanthan gum the last time I made ice cream, but it's like a half a teaspoon into the ice cream to make it so that the next day it doesn't taste like ice milk, but continues with the consistency of ice cream.
Getting really hard.
Yeah, it would just when you're eating it initially, when it comes right out of the machine, it's like, oh, this is the best thing ever. But then when you put it in the freezer, it crystallizes and it doesn't keep that. But that, like, literally half teaspoon of xanthan gum made all the difference.
Crazy. I've never tried that. Huh.
Yeah, so I guess we'll get back to ice creams when.
Yeah, I wonder if that would work for an ice cream, because you can't really freeze an ice cream either. It just goes solid as a rock, and then when it defrosts, it's not very good.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I would do a little search on the internet, because that's what I did. I was like, I don't know how much this needs, but I'd like it to taste better. I mean, it still tasted good. It's just the consistency. I wanted the consistency to be consistent. So that's because obviously you and I both, and Kathy Esther too, we do a lot of cooking. A lot of cooking. Oh, here's what Marla said. You make ice cream and serve me store-bought ice cream for my birthday dinner. How dare you? That is true. I found the fish food, the Ben & Jerry's fish food. And that's why we had that, Marla, for your birthday, because I hadn't been able to find it.
Dangerous stuff. Yeah. I've had it too, and wow, it's so good. But I don't even bother to read the label anymore, because I'm like, I know this is terrible. It's got a bunch of stuff, we probably shouldn't be eating, but every once in a great while.
That's exactly it. It was special in itself, because I hardly ever buy ice cream. So that was especially like something that they just made into a flavor that I used to like. And I mean, I really will. I'll just, we want ice cream, it's so easy to just make ice cream. My core recipe actually that I work off of is from Kim Campbell.
Oh, is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it is a plant-based recipe using maple syrup as the sweetener.
Right.
Seriously, Marla said it was good. Yeah, I also made Marla pizza for her birthday. So she got homemade pizza. So as much as she's saying I didn't make the ice cream, I did make pizzas. So, which was absolutely delicious.
Dinner for your birthday. That's really nice.
Yes. So that was just recently. It's part of like being vaccinated. It was like, oh, you can come over for your birthday.
Right.
No, like people really haven't been in the house. As I can imagine, no one's been in your house.
No one's been here. Yeah. I mean, it's just us and our girls. We did have the one boyfriend for a while. My oldest boyfriend, daughter's boyfriend. But we made him quarantine for 2 weeks before he came, and then he was able to stay for a little while. But that is it. Yeah, no guests, no. Yeah, it's been bizarre. It's a little surreal.
How are you all doing? Obviously, you all love one another, because it's
it's been a tough year. Because both our girls our oldest was ready to move out right when it started, and then COVID hit and she was stuck, so she couldn't move out for the whole year, and she was ready. So that was difficult. I think that was really difficult for her, and which in turn made it difficult for everybody.
Oh
yeah.
But it would have probably been more difficult if she
Right,
moved out and
right.
COVID hit, because as much as you're thinking like, I don't want
See
to be
her.
around these people, I wanted to be on my own, you would have been possibly alone. And that was difficult for a lot of people as well. And then you would not have like quarantine and then like you'd have to
Yeah,
quarantine and then
yeah,
come
we
in.
couldn't go and really see her then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully, when this is past a couple years, we'll be able to reflect and have a little different view and different feelings about it. But we're still in it, so it's not easy. Definitely not easy.
Well, I'm also glad that you have your show,
Yeah.
right? How often do you go live?
Oh, I don't ever do live
I
stuff.
mean,
This is
I mean recorded. I should say that. How often
we
do you do your show? I should say.
yeah, we have a show every week, a new recipe every single week, and that's been going for 6 years
That's so cool.
plus. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that you thank you for supporting Triangle Veg Fest and the local veg fest and being there, because I always see you there. I kind of like, and it's like one of those things where I was like, I'll see you and I'll be like, I know that is.
Yeah, I know
Like,
we don't see each other very often. Well, now, of course, I haven't seen anybody, but we hadn't been to a whole lot of stuff. And even, I think when we met, we hadn't lived here very long. We've been here in this house 4 years, I think, right? 4 years? 5 years. We've been in Cary 5 years, I think.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, I would love to have you obviously do something like this at the event, because some cooking
Mm,
demos they're so popular.
yeah, yeah.
They're like really, really more popular than you even think they would be. Like the rooms filled popular.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have to try it one of these, when when this is through.
I know. And I mean, locally, I think I'm going to do the mac and cheese cook-off this year outside, and just trying to figure out when. As I think I'm pretty sure I know where. It's just a
Yeah,
matter of when. And I don't think you'll be there because it'll still be COVID. But,
no, probably not.
but
Those are so
maybe.
much fun though. Oh gosh, my youngest daughter and I went to both, and oh wow. Or did my oldest daughter? I can't remember if I took both kids last year. But wow, some of the recipes were so amazing, and we tried to recreate some of them when we got home, but we don't use oil or anything, so it makes it, or like processed cheeses or anything, so it makes it a little bit tougher. But
That's true. That's true.
some of the
But
recipes are amazing. Yeah.
but nutritional yeast is your best friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think was it. I don't think they were the winner. There was a couple guys that did it, and they had was it eggplant bacon or something on there?
It's actually mushroom bacon, and that's pure
Oh,
soul.
mushroom bacon.
Yep.
But yeah, their recipe had tons of nutritional yeast in it, but it was so good.
You can get that anytime you want now, 7 days a week.
Oh, really?
Yes, and gluten free.
What's their? I can't remember their store.
The Pure Soul. Pure
Oh,
Soul
that's
fast
Pure
food.
Soul.
Yep. And they opened, the grand opening was yesterday in Durham. And they are now open 7 days a week. They were open 12 to
Oh,
4 on
cool.
Sundays, and then I think 11 to 3. So don't quote me, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday, they're open until I think 7 p.m. So yeah, if you're,
Wow, good. Well, once this is over, we have somewhere to go. All right.
yeah, and they'll bring it out to your car. They masked and everything if you don't want to go
We just
inside.
haven't, we haven't really done takeout food at all. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is now at your fingertips.
No,
Which
no.
is so
Yeah,
cool because it's real. I just had some today. I had leftovers today, and that's what I ate. That their mac and cheese and their greens. Their greens
Hmm.
are like some of the best ever.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and they have I mean, it's fried, but they have like a shrimp, like a fried shrimp, like popcorn shrimp thing going on. Like they make gluten free as well.
Wow.
I know. I was like, I love them. And that's like for everyone who's not local. Yes, sometimes when I talk to people who are local, we kind of go into like this love fest of where we live. And it's well deserved because people don't think of Raleigh, Durham, or even North Carolina, because Charlotte is amazing. Wilmington is up and coming. Asheville has tons of vegan options. The Triad has vegan options with Dom's opening in Winston-Salem. You know, what used to be called Mozzarella Fellas, now Dom's, and it's 100% vegan Italian restaurant. We are, for the South, for the,
Yeah, right.
like,
Yeah, this area, Cary, we really don't have. We've got Pure Juicery. Other than that, I think that might be it for Cary.
and you can
There's
go
some
over to,
they'll have a vegan option or something,
yeah,
but that's never a very good choice.
but you can go
And
over to
you
Apex.
know if it's cooked. Like I know we went to, was it Burger Fi or Burger 21, one of those burger places like that, because they had the Impossible Burger. And I said, well, that's something we can have. But I watched them make it, and there's a dedicated grill because their grills are all out in the open. There's a dedicated grill just for the Impossible Burger, but they didn't use. It wasn't turned on. They slapped it right on the grill. They just scraped it a little bit with their spatula and slapped that Impossible Burger right on the regular grill with the other burger. And I was like, oh, that's good to know. I hadn't really thought about that. Whether they're
Yeah.
actually, the places that are serving these, vegan meats or whatever. I don't know. Because I got the burger too, and you could taste it. It tasted like, the meat char was there.
Yeah.
I was, oh, wow.
Yeah, no, it's hard to eat after you see it.
Yeah.
That's the out of sight, out of sight, out of mind really does matter when you're eating out at a restaurant that's not, 100%. Oh yeah, then Tom, hey Tom, Carrie stuff. Apex, that's what I was going to go to. Apex says vegan community
Oh, the
kitchen.
vegan community kitchen. That's right. You're right. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. She's got some really good food. Yeah.
Yeah, when we go over to Apex, even if we're going over to Apex for somebody else's food, we get food from the vegan community kitchen because it's so
Oh, wow.
far to go to Apex for us. I mean, to take the
It
freeways,
is.
the way this area is made up for people who don't know is the freeways go around. So I can't go through. I mean, I could go through the middle, but it would take a long time.
It takes you forever to get there.
Yes, so I have to go
Because
around.
exit off of the freeway, the whatever they call that. I don't know if it's called a bypass. No, because it's a circle.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's the
pretty
belt
close
line.
to
Yeah, the inner belt line and the outer belt line. I live off the outer belt line, and it's not close. So, but if we're over there for any reason, it's like getting takeout from the Apex from Apex for the vegan community kitchen because it's so good and not expensive and a ton of food.
her prices. I don't know how she does it actually. I don't know how she keeps her prices that low because you go to any other place and they're like 4 times the cost of what
Yep.
she's charging. And she's making all of her. She makes all of her vegan meat by herself with seitan. It's her recipe, and it's delicious. It is really delicious. I've never tasted anything like that from any other place. If you get seitan in other places, I'm pretty sure they just get it prepackaged.
Yeah.
So you're going to get the same flavor wherever you're going to go. Maybe a different sauce, but now her stuff. Yeah, she's got all these different herbs and spices that she uses, and I've watched her make it. It's a pretty amazing process.
That is so cool.
All the time.
Yeah, yeah. So that's like, and that's not an area where you would think. Like Carrie,
No,
you would think there'd be more, but Apex, it's like
yeah, she's
Apex.
just in a little like a strip mall.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's kind of a unusual spot. You would never guess there was a vegan restaurant in there.
I know, and everyone on that side of town is like, yes.
Yeah, right.
And I'm just left here in Wake Forest going, will somebody open
Yeah,
something
I know.
up
It's Cary
this
too. And it's
way?
like, come on, there's all these open business spots. I realize Cary's, it's probably the real estate or the rent cost is probably a lot higher.
You've got
We
to
have
earth to us now,
our one little pure juicery, and it's just the teeniest little place, and the prices are a little steep, and yeah, and now it's changed ownership.
Yep.
So I haven't been there since then.
It's still vegan.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, still vegan. And you have Earth to Us now in Cary.
You what?
Earth to Us, vegan comfort
Oh,
food,
really?
open and carry. Yep.
Where in Cary?
It's a Cary Raleigh border, and I don't know Cary for anything, so I always have to use my
Yeah,
GPS
I
to
just
go
knew
there.
it was in Durham. I think it was a Durham location, right?
Hmm.
But it was pretty far from us.
Yeah, this is probably pretty close to you. I don't know which part of Cary that you're in, but if you're
Oh,
closer to Raleigh downtown, you're close to the Earth to us.
I'll have to look it up and see where that is. Huh.
Yeah, so that's especially like on the weekend because they've got their like tofu scramble and a arepa. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
so now it's like it's almost dinner, right? So this has been so much fun, and I mean for everyone else who's watching who doesn't live here, well now you have a reason to come here and like come, I mean definitely to
I
come and
wish I had
eat.
we've already talked about opening a restaurant with and just having our food, but we don't want to run it. We just want to make the structure, and they can use all of our recipes. We know how we would want it to be run, but we don't want to have to be the ones running it. We've both worked in the restaurant industry on and off a lot of our lives, and I don't want to go back.
Yeah, no, I agree with
This
you.
kind of food, yeah, I would. That would be really nice.
I know that the hardest part is it's like it's a 70-hour week and it's you
Exactly.
have to run it. You can't trust other people to run it, and especially initially because it's such a large investment of your time and money. And
Exactly.
what a great concept though that you can be like, here's the concept.
Yeah, we want to. That was our whole, thought before. We wanted to make a franchisable, you know, just like we make the whole outline for everything and have it all. It's all set up. But maybe still in the future. Maybe when we turn 60.
Oh, that's a while away though, right?
Well, I'm getting pretty close to 50, so yeah,
Exactly, it's a while away.
next phase of our life maybe.
Exactly. And you never know. I mean, it's like you have the time.
Exactly. Exactly.
If you I love throwing ideas out there, like throwing darts at the dartboard and just seeing where they land
Right.
because you just don't know if it's the time, if the timing's right,
Right.
anything can happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe this will be the catalyst to making that happen.
Oh, we'll see. We have other plans for the next few years, so
Right, especially since you'll be empty nesters. Well, Jill, thank you so much for this.
uh,
I mean, I really enjoyed this conversation because as much as I've seen you, the conversation has lasted about a, hey, how are you?
right. Yeah. Well, good to see you. Okay, well, we're going to this booth over here.
Right. Or like, oh, are you enjoying the food? That's about it
Exactly.
because then I'm gone,
Right.
And then, and the thought process is, who are they? I don't know what
Oh, yeah.
happened anymore, but
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. That's a lot of fun.
no, thank you so much as well. So if people want to reach you or find you, how would they do that?
So it's plantbasedcookingshow.com. That's our website. And then we have our YouTube show, which is the Whole Food Plant Based Cooking Show. And then Instagram is the same at Whole Food Plant Based Cooking Show.
Awesome. Let me get that part of there. And on YouTube. Very cool. Yeah, no, I know you're killing it. So that's fantastic. And I totally see why.
Thank you.
Totally see why. Well, thank you so much again for joining me and sharing this amazing recipe and eating it in front of us. And
Yeah,
which is fine. And I mean, I look forward to when you're ready to like be out there and getting to know you better and having you part of more of what I do because that would make me really happy.
oh, nice. Yeah. Well, everybody out there, keep those masks on. We want to get this over with.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday or Sunday. Oh, it's Sunday. Normally I'm on Saturday. It's Sunday. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Well, you too.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jill. No problem. Bye. So, everyone, thank you once again for watching Virtual Veg Fest Live. And as we just referred to, wear your mask over your nose, under your chin. Make sure you do that if you wear it incorrectly, which this is incorrectly, by the way. Exposing your nose makes this useless. So, because your nose is connected to your lungs, so you're breathing in potentially COVID, viruses, flu, whatever it is. So, just wear your nose correctly, wear your mask correctly. When you're out, you're around people, you can't social distance, and, just be careful because Jill's family really wants to be back out in public, and I'm going to have events this year, so you're going to have to mask and social distance. And we're pro-vaccination here at Triangle Veg Fest and Virtual Veg Fest, so please do that. So when we are together, there's less of a risk to everyone involved. That would be greatly appreciated. I actually know who's coming up next week. I looked before we went live. Normally I don't. Another cooking demo on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time with Fran Costigan. Probably going to be a dessert, I would guess, because if you don't know, Fran Costigan probably has the best recipe for chocolate pudding in the world. Just so you know. I don't know what she's making, but you can go and find Fran Costigan's chocolate pudding recipe. I've seen her do it live, and I've tasted it, and I've made it. It's incredible. So Fran will be on, so happy. And then on Saturday, Coach Kayla, who has a show with Virtual Veg Fest live on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. She will be on live, so you get to know her a little better too. Kimberly is live with you on Monday at 7 p.m. and Coach Kayla is at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. And we're coming up with a new show concept that I will let you know about as soon as we have it ready. But it's gonna be fun. So have a great rest of your weekend and be safe. Subscribe to Virtual Veg Fest on YouTube. Be kind to one another and have a good one. See you next week. Bye.